Welcome to World Athletics coverage of the 2022 edition of the Campaccio Cross Country in Italy. Perfect racing conditions for this, the 65th edition of this famous race. It hosted the European Championships on its 50th anniversary in 2006. The actual town against which the course is situated is San Giorgio sul Legnano in Italy. Population's only around 6,000 people. But this is a real festival occasion. We're looking at some of the preliminary events that run from under 14 athletes to over 55 athletes. There's 15 races on the card. Something around 1,200 athletes will be taking part. And you can see from this shot that it's quite a technical course. It's based on the leisure centre complex and in fact runs down the back straight of the track. There are one or two mounds and hillocks and man-made obstacles that make it quite tricky. There's 3 or 4 180-degree hairpin turns, but the underfoot conditions very favourable. There's the back straight that I was mentioning. I think there's a Pavlovian response from the athletes when they see a running track alongside, and the finish is actually alongside the running track as well. There's one of the mounds that's created. Pretty much anyone who's been anyone in the history of cross-country running has been to this event over the years. We've had Haile Gebrselassie, we've had Paul Tergat. Most recently it has been dominated by East African runners, but Italy's still the most common winner in the history of the race, and they've got some strong challengers in the senior races which will culminate this 15-race program. There's one of the little obstacles. Individually they amount to nothing much at all, but they just sap and break up the rhythm along with those hairpin turns on the course. The loop is around about 2 kilometres, so it will be 3 laps for the senior women, the international race that is the last ladies event, and it will be 5 laps, 10 kilometres for the men. The spectators, and you can see there are thousands of them out there, that includes 90-odd volunteers from the local town in support of this. It's a very mobile audience, so it's possible to spot the runners 3 or 4 times on each lap of the course, so it'll be a bit like a wall of noise in places that will include those that have run in some of those age group events that preceded it. Fantastic drone shots as well. You can see from the layers that the spectators are wearing that it's quite cool and crisp, but not a cloud in the sky, very firm underfoot. We should see some pretty rapid speed across the ground at the head of both of the elite races. And let's start with the elite women's race, which is 6 kilometres, 3 laps. Sign of the times. I don't know if these pictures will age well, but all of the competitors required to wear COVID masks for the opening dash, and then they can discard them after a minute or so of running. It's a small field. You can see the timing chip mats under their feet as they go across those red and black rubberized bands that will record their split times for each lap. Pretty much everybody at the head of the field has already tucked away the masks. Full COVID precautions are in place. Everybody had to display their vaccination status. That leading field includes the star of Italian running at the moment, Nadia Battocletti. I think she has Nadia on the front of her singlet. Battocletti would be quite a few letters. 7th in the Tokyo Olympic final. That's her running in 3rd place at the moment. And there's a list of previous winners of the women's event, but it also includes, going a bit further back, Paula Radcliffe, Ingrid Christensen, Greta Weitz. So it is in every respect a classic event. The 2006 staging, as I mentioned, hosted the European Championships. Dawit Soyum of Ethiopia, the early leader, closest to the tape on the right as we look at it. A Rio Olympic finalist at 1,500 metres. Behind her in the orange, Beatrice Chebet, second in the Atapuerca Spanish leg of the World Cross Country Tour Gold Series back before Christmas. So she's well raced. The 2019 World Junior Champion from the Cross Country World Championships in Aarhus in Denmark. That's her in the orange, running in 2nd at the moment. And there aren't many sections of this course which are long and straight. There's either an undulation or there is a turn. So Those that have already got 1 or 2 cross-country events under their belt will have an advantage coming into this. For everybody, it's their first race of the year. For many of this lineup, it's their first race of the winter season, and they're coming at it from all sorts of directions. We've got marathon runners, we've got those that will turn their attention to indoor track and field, and we've got 1 or 2 just coming back from Olympic success in Tokyo at the end of the summer. The athlete on the left in the yellow, in the green and blue halved singlet is Rahel Johannes of Eritrea. She's only 20 years of age. There's a number of teenagers and 20, 21-year-olds in that leading pack. Batacletti herself is only 21 years of age, the Italian in third. Gabriel Johannes, winner in Atapuerco by just 1 second over Chibet in the orange. So there's a rivalry being renewed here. 5 minutes into the race. This group just starting to break away a little bit. Maybe 7 or 8 of them just opening up a little bit of daylight over the chasing group. It's 100 years of organisation from the Union Sportiva San Giorgese. They've been presented with a commemorative plaque this year to record their 100th year of organising elite and mass participation sports. That was awarded by the Italian Olympic Committee. And Italy with 2 athletes in that leading group. You can see just at the back of the group there, we also have Anna Arnaldo, another 21-year-old in the all blue, moving up into 7th place. The athlete in the red, the deep red singlet, just coming alongside the early leader, Soyum, is Lucy Marwia of Kenya. She's running 5 of the gold level events in the World Cross Country Tour already. Mixed success. She's been as low as 10th, but she did win in Soria in Spain. Most of the pre-Christmas events were in Spain, and she was also runner-up in Alcobendas in Spain. So she's probably got the most racing this winter under her belt, and is just forcing the issue in the red singlet. Mooley. For the Italians, every year that there's a World Cross Country Championship in the March, this race forms part of the selection process. You can see they've gone up quickly, 3:19 average pace for the opening couple of kilometres, approaching the end of lap 1 out of 3. And it won't let up. If anything, it may get quicker as the surges come in from those that don't want to leave it to a sprint finish, that want to make it a long run for home. You can see it will be all Italians once we get beyond the leading dozen or so, a field of around about 70 or 80 or so it appeared on the start line. 1,200 athletes in action across the 15 races, and this is the last women's race of the day. It looks sunny. You can see from the way that the spectators are swaddled up that it's not warm by any means. So 1 for Eritrea, 1 for Kenya, 1 for Ethiopia in that leading trio. And it looks as though it is Chibet, the World Junior Champion at 5,000 metres from 2018. The World Junior Cross Country Champion, the last time they were held in Denmark in 2019. So everybody we're looking at in that lineup, barring I think 2 of them, are 21 or younger. It used to be the case that cross country required a bit of an apprenticeship, a bit of a learning curve, few seasons on the circuit to get used to the way that the races are run. That's no longer the case. Some of the African athletes coming straight in at this level, World Cross Country Tour gold level race. There are aspirations for cross country to be readmitted to the Olympic Games. I think it's missed the boat for Paris 2024, but that's very much in World Athletics plans for 2028 in Los Angeles. And California, with a strong history in cross country, it would mark 100 years since cross country was last at the Olympic Games. So Chibet pushing on. She's got good speed, a Diamond League winner on the track in Doha last summer. Well raced, and well into her indoor season. And you can see she's not really getting away from this group, but every few hundred metres, one more goes out the back of that leading pack. Looks like we're down to about 7 now. Battacletti of Italy still running well. European team champion at 5,000 metres on the track last year. She got into her winter quite slowly. She was 12th in Atapuerca in Spain back in November. But then in December, the Italian won the European under-23 cross-country title in Dublin. And then was third in the New Year's Eve race in Italy at Bolzano. All of them moving pretty fluidly. The other athlete, second to last in that group, is the Slovenian Clara Lukan, European under-23 silver medalist on the track, 4 times national champion on the track, and not afraid to mix it in this level of competition. So they spread out on what is the biggest width of racing track that they have around the course. 4 kilometres, the last lap was 6:25, so it is getting slightly quicker. They're accelerating through each kilometre, but Soyum has decided it needs to go a bit quicker still. The Rio Olympic track finalist has the pace in the closing stages if she needs it, but it looks as though she's going to make them work on this circuit. Around about 4-5 minutes of running left. You can see we've come down from 3:19 per kilometre down to 3:16. Soyum, and the athlete with 58 on her front is her teammate from Ethiopia, Belene Fantaye. Really unheralded outside of Ethiopia. She was 6th in their Olympic trials in Hangalo at 5,000 metres, and that's about it for her. So a great opportunity. And it is the Eritrean. There's lots of Eritrean expats around the course. Everywhere that cross-country is ever held in the world, the Eritreans are out in force. I remember when we hosted the World Cross Country in Edinburgh, we had to have an agreement with them and a certain number of finish line accreditations issued so that we didn't get an invasion at the end, because they had the defending champion, Tedesse, who didn't actually defend, but they were there in huge numbers. So you can see we've come down from 3:19 per kilometre to 3:13, and it looks to be getting quicker. And every time there's a surge, it is Dawit Soyum of Ethiopia in the black who covers it or initiates it. And a little bit of daylight now opening up outside the leading 4 or 5. There won't be too much collaboration. We have Eritrea, Kenya and Ethiopia, so some strong rivalries in there. Prize money up for grabs, which will slope steeply after the winning check. So now barely 4 minutes to go, and once again Dawit Soyum, winner of that New Year's Eve race. The last time that she raced in Italy was successful, over 5 kilometres on the road on New Year's Eve. She had an outstanding 2021. Her background is all track, indoors and out. And you can see she's just glancing left and right to see what she still needs to do. And it's quite a lot that she still needs to do, but it is getting faster and faster. When you look at them sideways on, it looks like they're pretty much sprinting now. Into the closing stages. Soyum, well, it's not comfortable. That's why she's looking back over her shoulder. It's her teammate, Fantaye, who's closest. Pretty soon they will hit the back straight, literally and figuratively, on this final lap. There, 300 metres of running left. She takes a glance and accelerates again. And there is no immediate response from Fantaye. Suddenly that gap is 2-3 seconds. This looks like a winning run for Dawit Soyum. And in fact, Fantaye under pressure now from Chibet, who's mounting a really quick final challenge. Surely she's running out of space to close down Soyum. So Soyum will need to hang a sharp left here to take the finishing straight. On the previous laps, they've gone further round. Oh, I think she just checks with somebody that is the finishing straight. Yes, it is. Finishes in the middle of the home straight, and the final big challenge has come from Gabriel Johannes in second, but Soyum takes it. Pretty close run affair there in the final stages. I think Fantayi, well, there she is. She's just jogged in fourth place. She gave everything to get to that position with 30 seconds to go and was pretty much spent thereafter. Battacletti with a strong finish, the first of the Italians there. Has she been spiked on her left knee there? I wonder if she caught somebody's kickback there. But Battacletti can be pretty pleased with her efforts. The European under-23 champion, Anna Ornaldo, the 21-year-old from Italy, crosses the line there. The national 5,000 metre champion. That's the top four. And there are those Eritreans. Doesn't matter whether they've got accreditation, they are there for their athletes always. So there's confirmation. In the end, there was only 3 seconds between first and third. It was a pretty close run thing, but Soyum more or less in control over the whole of that last lap and indeed the last kilometre of the final circuit. Presentation of awards. Should acknowledge the Sangiovese president of the organising committee, Claudio Pastori, the race organiser, Tito Tiberti, and also Walter Cecin, the mayor of San Giorgio sur Legnano. It's the men's 10,000 metres, the final race out of 15. 5 laps of the track. Adisu naturally being acknowledged as one of the favourites. So he has the honour of walking forward and taking the plaudits. But so too the national 10,000 metre champion. Ilyas Ewani will be expected to mix it with the leading African contingent. Once again, masks on for the opening charge of the race. 5 laps of the track. And again, there are athletes coming at this race from all sorts of directions. Some opening up their first race since the track season ended last summer, and 1 or 2 of them who have had a pretty full cross-country season already. Vincent 2, it looks like 100 on his vest, doesn't it, at the front? Vincent 2, more or less unknown outside of Kenya, and none of his times are that special on the track, largely because they've been run at altitude in Nairobi and elsewhere in Kenya. So this a really big opportunity for the 21-year-old on the right-hand side there. Finished 6th in the Kenyan Kipkeino Classic in Nairobi at the very last week or so of the track season in September. Adisu on the left. Winner of the Ethiopian Championships on the track back in April. And you can see it's not really a group because they're splintered into 2s and 3s, but this group getting well away and already operating at sub 3 minutes per kilometre. Kiplagat in the orange in the centre, Emmanuel Correa Kiplagat. Only left high school last year. He's the African under-18 3,000 metre champion on the track and ran very well in the Kenyan pre-Olympic trials last year without making the team. And there are some young athletes once again in this lineup. Adisu Yehuni himself is only 18 years of age. We may well get lapping in this race. It's only 2 kilometres, which for the leading athletes will only take 5 to 6 minutes to complete. And they're likely to have a margin of at least 5 or 6 minutes over the back markers in the race, which includes national standard Italians, but also club level athletes as well. And there are 3 Italians in that leading 6, another 4 at the back of that group. You can see the gaps which are tracked on the chip timing, which are on tags on the athlete's shoes. They go over those sensor mads every 2 kilometres, just indicating there's only 2 seconds covering the whole of that group. So we're 8 minutes into the race. There's a nice look at the sharp incline, just a bit of a rhythm disruptor. Nothing on its own, but if you add it to then a twist and a turn and another ascent and then a ramp on each circuit, got to really establish a special rhythm in cross country. Adisu had a couple of unlucky 4th places last year. He was 4th in the Ethiopian Olympic trials, which meant he didn't go to Hengelo. He was also 4th in the World Junior Championships in Nairobi, which meant he was off the podium at that age group event last summer. So a few things to prove for him over the course of 2022. And this is his first opportunity to put down a marker around his form. But it is Vincent Kipkurui 2, the 21-year-old in the black, having a look back, and he is splintering that leading group. We're approaching 11 minutes into a 10-kilometre race, likely to be 28, 29 minutes as a finishing time. Kifle on the right-hand side, probably the class act of the field. All-African silver medalist, World Half Marathon bronze medalist, 4th in the world cross country in Aarhus. Top 8 on the track as far back as London 2017. That's him in the red shorts in the middle of the group. And he was also runner-up in the Seville leg in Spain of the World Cross Country Tour before Christmas, so well raced. So we are down to these 8 athletes. You can see it's a very significant gap back behind them. Italy represented in that group. Ayob on his vest is actually his first name. It's Ayob Gebrewet-Faniel of Italy. What an amazing year he had last year, the guy in the red. 20th in the Olympic marathon in Tokyo, and then he came back within 2 months to finish 3rd in the New York City marathon. I just wonder how much that will have taken out of him and whether he's been able to rest, recover and restart his season, because this is quite a different discipline for somebody that's been used to 2 hours of running on firm tarmac. Cipanelli, the other Italian in that group, a steeplechase specialist. You can see him with the sort of lowered neckerchief around his neck at the back of that group. Ilyas Owani in the club colours, in the white and blue. But Adisu, as we saw in the women's race, just putting in a few testers just to see if everybody's still comfortable, and if they're not, well, he has a look at his watch. I'm not sure. Have another look at your watch. I don't know what it adds to what he will know. It's a 5-lap race, and there are 7 of them in contention. He's got the most forward-leaning style, hasn't he, in that leading group? But all of them powering along. We're into the second half of the race now. All of the seeded athletes are in that group. I suspect it's getting quicker and quicker, as we saw in the women's race. This is undoubtedly the fastest section of the course. It's very closely cropped grass alongside the running track as they go out into their next circuit. It would be a long run for home for anybody to take it on from here with 2 laps to go. Getting quicker, 5:54 for that circuit. 3 laps done, 2 remaining. Adisu, always somewhere in there, isn't he? Every move that's been made, he's been there or initiating it. Emmanuel Correa Kiplagat in the orange in second place, the young man. I think he's only just 18 now. And showing no fear at this level. There's a sequence of races in Italy coming up, including the famous Cinque Mellini, 5 mills cross country in February. So a lot of these athletes will either have already made plans to stay in Italy, base themselves there for training and racing, or be looking for an invite and a favour from the race organiser of those forthcoming events. Looks like Cipollini finding it hard, the steeplechase man for Italy at the back of that group in the red. The other two Italians, as we look at the graphic, confirming just 1 second, covering that leading 8, and then 13 seconds back to the chasing group. This is showtime, really. It's the very heart of the race. We're well into the second half. These hills, which were nothing at all on the first lap, suddenly start to take on a little bit of significance for those that are hanging on. One or two athletes now being lapped. The three Italians are now at the back of that group. You can see it's Eritrea, Ethiopia and Kenya that are forming the leading 5, just starting to edge away 21 minutes into this 28-minute race. Well, if you look at 2 from this angle, very, very composed and calm, isn't he? But he's doing some damage with that raking stride. Takes the corner well. It's a technical course. You've got to be able to corner strongly on what may now, in race 15, be quite cut up grass. But if he looks in his rearview mirror, or even over his right hand shoulder, you'll see that Adisu is there and wanting to take a turn again on the quick part of the back straight. It will be the bell this time as we're down to these 5. Kiplagat senses a surge, covers it immediately. So Adisu, with 1 lap to go, has a look around. It has got quicker again, a 5:41 circuit. So I think they've pretty much got quicker on all of the first 4 circuits, and you can be sure it will really accelerate now because 5 into 1 doesn't go. We can only have 1 champion in the men's race at Campaccio 2022, and Adisu is doing his darndest to make sure it's him. You can see they've almost formed single file behind him in response to this surge. Still operating at 2:55 per kilometre, but it's getting quicker and quicker. And they need to cover this because he looks full of running now as we enter the last 4 minutes of the race. Gaps opening up where previously there were none. This is his bid. I don't think there's any point in him looking back now. He looks fully committed. And look at him go. Wow. Adisu with a lot left in the tank. He looks over the left shoulder there to see. It could be a winning run. It's a much more commanding lead than we saw at the equivalent point in the women's race. And you can see behind, the teeth are bared. They're working so hard to try and get back on terms. But the 18-year-old looks as though it will take something special to stop him or reel him in. This is the last of those uphill mounds. Brings the pumping arms into play. It's the 5th circuit. He knows how it goes from here on in. The crowd that have moved all around the course will be heading for the finishing straight now to welcome the winner, and it looks as though it could be another Ethiopian title in Italy. Final few turns now for Adisu. You can see it's gone way quicker. 2:50, the pace at the end of that 4th circuit, and he's kicked in off that as well. That gap has suddenly opened up from 2 or 3 to 5 or 6 seconds. Can't afford to take his foot off the pedal in these closing stages, but he'll be pleased to see that back straight section. Those are some of the recent winners. Italy have had Bourdin. We've had Eliud Kipchoge winning, Bronislaw Malinowski, Haile Gebrselassie, Francesco Panetta. It's pretty much a who's who in the history of this event. And Yehuni Adisu is looking to have his name inscribed on the trophy for 2022. Drawing on these lapped runners as he comes into the final minute or so of the race. You can see he's a sub 13-minute 5,000 metre runner. He's got closing speed. He won't need it here. as far as you can enjoy a 10-kilometre cross-country. He can enjoy this last 300 metres, but he opens up his stride down the back straight with less than 200 metres to run. Very, very unique running style. Pronounced forward lean. A bit like Jakob Ingebrigtsen, leaning from the waist. But he's not switching off the afterburners. He's not looking back either. He knows he's got it. A little bit of a celebration there, maybe. It's a classic race, and he's dominated it. You can see there's the finishing sprint coming in from Emmanuel Correa Kiplagat, but the title is going to go to Ethiopia and Yuhuni Adisu. Emmanuel Correa Kiplagat takes second. Oh, and it's going to be very close for the third place. The last podium place is going to go to Serum Amos, the 19-year-old from Kenya. Just ahead of Vincent Kipkurui too, who did so much of that early leading. Well, they've absolutely emptied the tank, haven't they, there? You can see that it's kind of penned in, that finishing chute. So they'll just get their breath back in there. They'll be corralled for the photographers. 40-second margin now over those that are coming in. Still inside the top 10. Serem, pretty pleased with that. Adisu, the 65th edition of Campaccio. I think that's the 5th Italian runner, Quazzola. Glad to be finished. The Italians gave a very good showing there. You can see they're congratulating each other, many of them in that same team singlet. They've really given 100%, but it was a decent showing with, in the end, athletes finishing in 6th, 7th and 8th place with the leading Italian men in that race. So there's confirmation of the results. It was a 6-second margin in the end for the 2022 champion, Yuhuni Adisu. Just draw your attention to the gentleman on the right-hand side who's just removing his cap, because with the benefit of delayed voiceover of this, that is the original Campaccio organiser, Livio Merighetti, 92 years of age, and sadly he passed away 8 days after the triumph of the 2022 event. Rest in peace. Well, now we have a chance to look back at various different angles, a quick montage of some of the earlier races, and we're going to close with the official song, the anthem of Campaccio. It was written by a recreational runner, Dagmar Segbears, who also performs it. She used to be a fairly good long jumper in her youth as well. I would give it 12 points if I was voting. That's going to be what we close with. But now we've got some of those shots we didn't see in the elite international races from the drone. Way above, it gives you a very good impression of those hairpin bends. Look at that. Absolute double backs and contraflows. Fantastic day of celebration of the sport. We've had some great performances. Some of these young athletes will be hoping it will be their turn in the international race. This is Sebastiano Parolini of Italy, who was the winner of the 3.2 kilometres short distance race for men. Let's hope he will be interested in graduating to the full distance 10K international. But he's a champion, hopefully inspired by what he's seen. It has been a tremendous day of racing. From me, Jeff Whiteman, and the World Athletics Highlights, it's goodbye.